The dust of August 1944 settles thick on Warsaw. It's not just the dust of summer, but the pulverized brick and plaster of a city beginning to eat itself. The air in the Wola district hangs heavy, carrying the scent of coal smoke, ozone, and something acridly metallic. It is the third day of the uprising. From a fourth-floor apartment, its facade peeled away by artillery, the city looks like a jagged wound. The Vistula River is a flat, indifferent ribbon of grey. Distant, rattling bursts of machine gun fire are punctuation, not a conversation. The primary sound is the grinding of tank treads on rubble, miles away, or the sudden bronchial cough of a mortar. Inside this skeletal apartment, Alexander Kwiatkowski is still. He's not a soldier. He is a man who stayed too long, a man who until 72 hours ago was cataloguing acoustic resonance patterns. Now he simply listens. The sounds are his new clock. The Stuka's siren means 10 seconds to impact. The MG42's rip means a street is being erased. He holds a Mauser Buzet 29, its wooden stock smooth and cool against his cheek. It's heavy, unfamiliar. He watches a cat pick its way across a shattered beam 4 stories below. A semblance of normality. Then a Stuka dive bomber, black against the hazy sun, peels off. It screams down. The bomb lands 3 blocks east. Alexander doesn't flinch, but he observes. He sees the flash, the eruption of brick, 1 second, 2 seconds. Then the sound arrives, a deafening crack. But it's not one sound. The first crack is followed a half-second later by a deeper booming whoomp that seems to come from his left. He looks left. The massive red brick bell tower of St. Augustine's Church, standing defiant, has caught the blast wave and thrown it back at him. A perfect echo, a detail filed away. The shift from observation to participation is brutal. Down on Chłodna Street, a German patrol moves with practiced, arrogant confidence. They are not Wehrmacht. They are SS Sonderregiment Dirlewanger. The name is whispered in cellars. They are the butchers of the East, unleashed on Warsaw. They move in a staggered formation, 10 of them, weapons ready. Alexander watches from his high perch. He sees a flash from a rooftop 2 blocks down. A single shot from a home army, Armia Krajowa fighter. It's a brave, futile gesture. One of the SS men stumbles. The patrol's reaction is not human. It is mechanical. In less than a second, the MG42 is swiveled, mounted, and firing. The sound is terrifying, a continuous fabric-tearing noise that obliterates the rooftop position. The air is filled with pulverized tile and concrete. The AK sniper is gone. Alexander lowers his rifle, his hands cold. He understands the lethal mathematics. 1 shot with a bolt-action rifle, even a perfect one, is a death sentence. The MG42 hunts the sound. It traces the cone of the muzzle blast back to its origin and annihilates the shooter. To fire is to die. He looks back at the St. Augustine's tower, its silent belfry staring at him like an empty eye. He remembers the Stuka, the flash, the delay, the echo. A new variable enters his equation. The SS hunts the sound. But what if the sound they hunt is not the real one? What if, he thinks, his mind drifting back to his physics lectures, what if he could move the sound? What he didn't know, sitting in that dusty room, was that this single, academic thought, this theory of acoustic deception, would soon become a ghost story, whispered in fear by the most brutal SS patrols in Warsaw. The problem facing the Armia Krajowa in August 1944 is one of impossible arithmetic. The uprising was intended to last 48 hours, a swift liberation of the capital as Soviet forces approached. But the Red Army has stopped cold on the far bank of the Vistula. Warsaw is alone. Field reports from AK Command paint a grim picture. Sector Wola, German forces deploying SS Sturm Brigade Rona, Kaminsky and SS Sonderregiment Derlewanger. Tactics are not combat but extermination. Standard procedure is mass execution of civilians as human shields and pacification by flame. The German doctrine is reine Härte, ruthless hardship. The tools of this doctrine are the patrols. An SS patrouille is a self-contained killing machine. 10 men, led by a battle-hardened Scharführer, staff sergeant, equipped with MP-40 submachine guns, plentiful steel hand granaten, stick grenades, and the linchpin, one MG-42 general-purpose machine gun. Firing at 200 rounds per minute, it is not a weapon of precision, it is a scythe. A single Polish sniper, hidden in a window, is a problem to be solved with overwhelming instantaneous firepower. AK Field Report, 10th of August 1944. Sniper losses in Wola sector are unsustainable. Recommend cessation of static position engagements. German counter-sniper tactics, MG-42 saturation, result in an estimated 90% casualty rate for our marksmen within 10 minutes of first engagement. We cannot trade one rifle for 2 0 rounds of machine gun fire. The data in the field reports translates directly into human suffering. Unsustainable losses are not statistics. They are the faces of the boys, some as young as 15, who charge German positions with pistols and homemade grenades. They are the runners who disappear into the smoke and never arrive at the next command post. For the civilian population, the consequence is terror. The SS patrols are methodical. They clear buildings not with searches but with fire. Sight start. They move down a street, and behind them the street is silent. Sight 3. This creates a zone of impossibility. To fight the patrols is suicide. To not fight them means watching your city die, block by block. The morale of the AK is legendary, built on hope and desperation, but the physical exhaustion is a grinding weight. The fighters subsist on barley soup and stale bread. Sleep comes in 20-minute increments, always shattered by the Nebelwerfer's howl or the sudden close-range eruption of an MG-42. The insurgents are trapped, they cannot advance, and they will not retreat. The German strategy is simply to wait for the ammunition to run out and the city to starve. In this environment, the idea of a single sniper holding a street is not just optimistic, it is considered tactically insane. Experts agreed. It couldn't be done. Alexander Kwiatkowski is 24 years old. He is thin, wears spectacles, and until the uprising, his most dangerous activity was debating waveform propagation at the Warsaw University of Technology. He is, by training, an acoustic physicist. His unfinished dissertation, now likely ash in his professor's office, was titled Acoustic Reverberation Fields in Baroque and Gothic Architecture. He had spent 1943 measuring the decay of sound in Warsaw's grandest churches, including St. Augustine's. He understands, better than any soldier, how sound behaves in an urban environment. He knows that brick is a near-perfect reflector. He knows that a concave facade, like that of a bell tower, can focus a sound wave, amplify it and change its characteristics, making a sharp crack sound like a booming thump. He is not a natural soldier. His father, a forester, had taught him to shoot. But it was for deer, not men. The rifle was hidden under the floorboards in 1939. When the uprising began, he retrieved it, along with 2 boxes of 7.92 mm ammunition. He is precise, quiet, and analytical. He sees the battlefield not as chaos, but as a complex physics problem. While other fighters see cover and concealment, Alexander sees angles of incidence and reflection. His mind is his primary weapon system. The Mauser is merely the tool that introduces energy into the equation. The idea coalesces in the quiet of his 4th floor, hide. He watches the church tower. He watches the kill zone, a 50-meter stretch of Trodner Street. He sees the backstop, a ruined building facade behind his target. His mind runs the calculation. The SS patrol is hunting the origin of the sound. The speed of sound is roughly 343 meters per second. His position is 500 meters from the patrol. The church tower is 300 meters from him, but only 250 meters from the patrol, and at a 45-degree angle to his firing line. The sound from his rifle, the direct sound, will reach the patrol in about 1.46 seconds. But the sound wave will also travel from his rifle, strike the massive flat brick wall of the belfry, and reflect. That reflected sound will travel a different path, arriving at the patrol's ears just milliseconds after the first, but from a completely different direction. And because the tower's surface is vast, the reflected sound will be louder, deeper, and more confusing, a bell echo. The patrol, under the acute stress of combat, will instinctively react to the loudest, most obvious threat. They will shoot at the echo. He explains his theory to Jan, a 16-year-old AK runner who has become his unofficial spotter. Jan's look is one of profound disbelief. "Alex, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. They're not deaf. You fire from here, they shoot here." "No," Alexander says, his voice quiet. "They will hear the report, but they will feel the echo. The church will shout at them. We just provide the whisper." Jan shakes his head. "It's your funeral, Professor." Alexander knows he can't wait for permission. He will have to test the theory himself. The preparation is meticulous, an act of applied science. He moves his firing position, not at the window, which is a fatal funnel, but 12 feet back into the darkroom. This hides his muzzle flash completely. He creates a blast box around the muzzle, using a heavy, damp rug and 2 waterlogged mattresses scavenged from the apartment below. This will capture and dampen the initial muzzle blast, reducing the direct tasked sound wave. His shot will be quieter, thinner. The echo, by contrast, will be fat. He is manipulating the sound's color. Jan, his skepticism warring with his curiosity, agrees to help. His job is vital. Observe the reaction of the patrol. "Don't watch the man I hit," Alexander instructs. "Watch the others. Watch where they look. Watch where the MG42 aims." Jan nods, his young face grim. He sets up with a pair of German Dienstglas 630 binoculars in an adjacent room, peering through a tiny hole in the brickwork. They wait. The tension is not that of a hunter, but of a scientist waiting for an experiment to validate a hypothesis. The air is still. The smell of the damp, mouldy mattress is overpowering. Hours pass. The light begins to fail. "This is pointless," Jan whispers, his eyes aching from the binoculars. "Wait," Alexander replies. His own body is rigid, locked into the rifle. A new sound, boots on rubble. Jan hisses, "Patrol! 10 men! SS! They're on the mark! 500 meters!" Alexander's world shrinks to the circle of his Hensoldt scope. He sees the SS Scharführer in the center gesturing to his men. The man is confident, scanning the windows. Alexander tracks him. He controls his breathing. He is not killing a man, he is completing a circuit. He exhales slowly and squeezes the trigger. The Mauser cracks. Inside the room, the sound is a muffled, heavy thump, absorbed by the wet mattresses. It's almost disappointingly quiet. Sight start. 500 meters away, the Scharführer collapses, a victim of the shot. Sight. 4. The patrol instantly dives for cover. Jan, forgetting to be quiet, gasps. They're looking at the church. Alex, they are all looking at the church. A moment later, the validation, the nightmarish brrrr of the MG-42 opens up, but its red tracers are not flying toward their building. They are slamming into the brick belfry of St. Augustine's 200 meters to their left. The SS squad fires 2 full belts, over 400 rounds, into the empty stone tower. Jan is laughing, a high, hysterical sound. They're shooting at bricks. They're shooting at a ghost. Alexander leans back from the rifle, his heart pounding. The physics held. The echo had screamed louder than the bullet. If stories of ingenuity under pressure like this fascinate you, stay with us. The next chapter of this acoustic war might just surprise you. The success, however, brings new problems. Alexander's ghost is drawing an incredible amount of enemy fire, but it's all directed at St. Augustine's. By the 3rd day, the belfry is pockmarked with thousands of high-velocity rounds. The local AK commander, a battle-hardened veteran named Griff, storms into the cellar that serves as the sector's command post. He's furious. Who is the sniper in the Wola sector drawing fire to the church? We have civilians hiding in the crypt. You are using a sanctuary as a fortress, and you are going to bring a Stuka down on all of us. Jan, who had reported the success, tries to explain. Sir, he's not in the church. He's... I don't care where he is, Griff snaps. He's provoking them. Alexander steps forward from the shadows, his spectacles pushed up on his forehead. Commander, they are not shooting at the church. They are shooting at an echo. The cellar falls silent. The hardened fighters look at this thin academic man as if he's lost his mind. An echo? Griff says, his voice dangerously low. Alexander holds his ground. I am firing from the apartment building on Chwodna. I am using the principles of acoustic reflection. The SS patrol misidentifies the source of the shot. They believe the sound is originating from the belfry. They are, with respect, sir fools, they are hunting a sound. He presents his data. 3 patrols engaged, 3 leaders eliminated, ammunition expended, 3 rounds. Enemy ammunition wasted, approximately 200 rounds of 7, 92mm machine gun fire, plus 20 mortar rounds, all directed at an empty stone tower. My position is secure. The civilians are safe. The tactic is sound. Griff stares at him for a long, heavy minute. It defies every rule of combat he has ever known, but the results are undeniable. 3 patrols neutralized for 3 bullets. He nods once. Continue, Professor. But if that church falls, I'm holding you responsible. The church bell echo now becomes a systematic psychological weapon. It is no longer an experiment. It is a hunt. Alexander and Jan work as a team. Jan is the hunter, the spotter. He tracks the patrol schedules, notes their routes. He becomes adept at spotting the leaders. Alexander is the ghost, the man who is never there. He sets up the complex geometry of the shot. The legend grows. A 4th patrol enters Geisterstrasse, Ghost Street, as the Germans now call it, the crack of the Mauser, the boom of the echo. The squad leader falls, the MG-42 obliterates the belfry, the patrol retreats, a fifth patrol. This time they bring a heavy mortar. They shell the church before they even enter the street. But Alexander has changed his angle. He is now using a different part of the church, the apse, creating a different echo. The patrol, believing the tower is clear, moves in. The crack. The echo. Another man falls. This time, the patrol panics and retreats, firing wildly. German Field Report, 14th August 1944, reads a captured dispatch. Recommend Geisterstraße, Chłodna, be designated a no-go zone. Polish partisans have established a heavily fortified multi-level machine gun and sniper nest inside the St. Augustine's Church Tower. Multiple attempts to neutralize this position with machine gun and mortar fire have failed. The sniper is preternaturally accurate. Losses are unacceptable. The report is, of course, entirely wrong. The fortified nest is an empty open-air belfry. The multiple snipers are one 24-year-old physicist with 30 bullets left. Over 12 days, Alexander's log, scratched onto the plaster wall of his hide, grows. By the time his sector is overrun, the tally stands at 21. 21 patrols neutralized, broken, or forced to abandon their mission. 21 times the SS fired on a phantom, their own aggression turned against an illusion of brick and air. The immediate consequence of the church bell echo is the creation of a small, temporary safe zone in the middle of hell. For 2 weeks, Ghost Street is usable by AK runners and civilian refugees. The German forces convince the church is a fortress, detour around it, costing them time and ceding control of the street. Eventually, German high command loses patience. They do not send another patrol. They send a Pak-40 Sauser, 75mm anti-tank gun. From a kilometer away, it fires high explosive shells directly into the belfry, and the tower that had served as Alexander's acoustic mirror is finally truly silenced, its top half collapsing in a cloud of red dust. But by then, Alexander and Jan have already slipped away, their mission complete, melting back into the uprising's desperate, shrinking perimeter. The uprising itself would fail. After 63 days, the Home Army surrendered. Warsaw was systematically emptied and leveled, building by building, in an act of calculated rage. Alexander's innovation was never written into a field manual. It was a battlefield expedient, a legend that vanished with the men who witnessed it. In the post-war years, Alexander Kwiatkowski, having survived, became one of the thousands of engineers dedicated to rebuilding Warsaw. He never spoke of his acoustic sniper days. He would walk past the reconstructed St. Augustine's Church, its belfry newer than the base, and feel a quiet, private knowledge. He didn't just help rebuild the city. He had, for a brief time, defended it with sound itself. Today, the principles of the church bell echo are a fundamental part of modern conflict, scaled up with technology Alexander could never have dreamed of. Acoustic deception is a high science. Modern boomers and sound cannons are used in urban warfare and crowd control to project voices, machine gun sounds, or vehicle noises from locations where no troops are present, drawing enemy fire or herding combatants into a trap. Stealth aircraft are not just invisible to radar. Their engines are baffled to mask their acoustic signature, their shapes designed to deflect sound as well as radar waves. The core idea remains the same: make the enemy fight a phantom, make them waste their strength on an echo, Alexander's story is a profound, universal message about the nature of warfare. It is not always the side with the most firepower that holds the advantage. It is the side that understands the battlefield. He refused to accept the impossible mathematics that said one rifle must lose to one machine gun. He changed the equation. He proved that the human mind, armed with knowledge, precision, and the courage to test a stupid idea, is the most powerful weapon in any arsenal. The rebuilt Tower of St. Augustine's stands today over a peaceful, vibrant Warsaw. The bricks are silent witnesses to the time when a physics student turned the city's architecture into a shield and its echoes into a sword. Every great idea begins as an act of defiance against impossibility. What impossible ideas do you think could change the world?